Harold Shipman was a seemingly ordinary family doctor in the town of Hyde, England, a trusted general practitioner beloved by his mostly elderly patients. Born in 1946 in Nottingham to a working-class family, Shipman was especially close to his mother, who died of cancer when he was 17. In her final days, a doctor eased her pain with morphine injections at home. This experience left a deep impression on young Harold, inspiring him to study medicine. By 1970, he had graduated from Leeds University Medical School and begun his medical career. From the outside, Shipman appeared to be a devoted husband and father of four, building a respectable life. Yet early in his career, there were hints of trouble that went largely unnoticed. In 1975, while working at a small practice in West Yorkshire, Shipman was caught forging prescriptions for pethidine, a potent painkiller, to support his own drug habit. He was fined and underwent rehabilitation, but remarkably no formal disciplinary action was taken. Shipman soon secured a position as a general practitioner in Hyde in 1977, and over the following years he rebuilt his reputation. By the early 1990s, he had even opened his own surgery, becoming a well-regarded figure in the community. His patients and colleagues saw him as a reliable, caring doctor. No one suspected the dark secrets he kept hidden. Unbeknownst to everyone, Dr. Shipman had begun to exploit the immense trust placed in him. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, patients under his care were dying at an alarming rate. Most were older women who lived alone, and their deaths were often sudden yet not initially deemed suspicious. Shipman would typically be the last person to see them alive, usually during afternoon house calls. He later reported that they died of natural causes or simply old age, and personally signed their death certificates. In truth, many of these patients were being killed by Shipman himself with lethal doses of diamorphine, medical-grade heroin, administered under the guise of routine treatment. After each death, he altered medical records to indicate the patients had been in poor health. These calculated steps allowed him to cover his tracks and avoid scrutiny, as a doctor's word carried significant weight. Some subtle warning signs did emerge, but they were not acted upon in time. Local undertakers noticed that Shipman's patients seemed to be dying more often than others and in similar circumstances, but they hesitated to formally accuse a doctor of wrongdoing. In March 1998, however, a fellow Hyde physician reported to the local coroner about the unusually high number of cremation forms Dr. Shipman was signing for elderly patients. An initial police inquiry was launched, but with little concrete evidence and a reluctance to believe that a doctor could be murdering patients, the investigation was closed prematurely. Shipman continued practicing, and in the months that followed, he claimed several more victims. It would ultimately take one persistent family to bring Shipman to justice. In June 1998, an 81-year-old woman, a beloved longtime patient of Shipman's, died suddenly at home. Shipman had been the last to treat her and had confidently certified her death as due to natural causes. But when the woman's daughter, herself a lawyer, discovered a new will leaving a large sum of money to Dr. Shipman while cutting out the family, alarm bells rang. Suspecting foul play, she alerted the authorities. For the first time, tangible evidence suggested that Dr. Shipman was not the benevolent caregiver he seemed, but something far more sinister. Investigators now faced the grim possibility that this trusted doctor had been deliberately killing his patients, and they rushed to uncover the truth. In late 1998, police launched a full investigation into Dr. Shipman. The body of the elderly patient with the suspicious will was exhumed and tested, confirming suspicions. A lethal dose of diamorphine was found in her system. Investigators also discovered that Shipman had falsified her medical records to suggest a history of drug use. With this damning evidence, police arrested Shipman on September 7, 1998. As detectives dug deeper, a horrifying pattern emerged. Dozens of other patient files revealed similarly suspicious deaths. By 1999, Shipman was charged with 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. His trial opened in October 1999 at Preston Crown Court, drawing intense media attention. Shipman flatly denied all charges, but the prosecution's evidence was overwhelming. On January 31, 2000, the jury found him guilty on all counts. The judge imposed 15 life sentences with no chance of parole, ensuring Shipman would never be released. He was also stripped of his medical license. Even after conviction, Shipman never confessed or offered any explanation. With no admission from him, investigators and experts could only speculate about his motives. Prosecutors argued he had a God complex, relishing the power of life and death over patients. Some psychologists suggested he craved control and took a twisted thrill in extinguishing lives. Others pointed to sheer arrogance and greed, noting the forged will as evidence that he thought he could get away with anything. Ultimately, Shipman took his secrets to the grave, leaving the world to wonder how a trusted doctor could commit such crimes. Harold Shipman did not spend long in prison. On January 13, 2004, one day before his 58th birthday, he was found dead in his cell at Wakefield Prison, having hanged himself. News of his suicide brought mixed reactions. Many victims' families felt cheated of justice, furious that Shipman died without ever facing all the consequences or revealing the truth. Others in the public felt a grim satisfaction that he would never walk free again. British newspapers captured this divide. One tabloid branded him a coward for taking his own life, while another gleefully declared, "Ship, ship, hooray." In the aftermath, attention turned to making sure such crimes could never go undetected again. A public inquiry chaired by Dame Janet Smith examined how Shipman evaded suspicion for so long and how many lives he had taken. In 2002, the inquiry reported that Shipman had murdered at least 215 patients over 23 years, possibly around 250 in total, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in history. The inquiry strongly criticized the police and medical authorities for missing many warning signs. It found that the early 1998 police investigation was mishandled, missing a critical opportunity to stop Shipman. Shipman's case directly led to major reforms in British medical practice. The government introduced stricter procedures for death certification and closer monitoring of doctors. Now, all deaths not investigated by a coroner must be reviewed by an independent medical examiner, ensuring no single doctor can certify a death without oversight. Regulations on prescribing controlled drugs were also tightened to flag any unusual patterns. These changes, often called the Shipman Effect, were meant to restore trust in healthcare. However, an unintended consequence was that some doctors became more cautious in prescribing pain medication, afraid of arousing suspicion. Today, Harold Shipman's name is synonymous with the ultimate betrayal of trust. He remains the only British doctor ever convicted of murdering his patients, a fact that shook the nation's faith in its medical providers. In Hyde, a memorial garden now honors the victims, and families continued to push for justice and compensation for years after. The story of Dr. Harold Shipman stands as a chilling cautionary tale, reminding us that even those in esteemed positions of care must be held accountable, and that vigilance and oversight is essential to keep people safe.